Well, Donald Trump's latest comments about NATO, they're worrying a whole lot of people, including Republicans like Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. This is what he had to say in an interview with the New York Times. When asked about Russia's threatening activities, which have unnerved the small Baltic states that are among the more recent entrants into NATO, Trump said that if Russia attacked them, he would decide whether or not to come to their aid only after reviewing if those nations have, quote unquote, fulfilled their obligations to us. If they fulfill their obligations to us, the answer would be yes. It kind of sounds like a mob shakedown. Anyway, the Trump campaign, of course, said he was misquoted. Now, we wanted our former members of Congress to weigh in. Mr. Shea served on the Subcommittee on National Security and the Homeland Security Committee, and Mr. Rothman served on Foreign Affairs and Defense Appropriations. Guys, what jumped out to me today was how many Republicans, forget just McConnell, but how many Republicans said, you can't even joke around about the idea of, in effect, denuding the most important treaty that we have in place since World War II. You can't even joke about it on a campaign trail. This is serious and this is scary. Do you share that sentiment?
Yeah, it is scary, and it's particularly dumb. I mean, the best example is Iraq went into Kuwait because we gave them a mixed signal on whether we would object or not object. So they went in. Had it been clear, you go in, we're going to get you out, they never would have gone in. I mean, that says to Russia, we can fool around here. And that's when wars start. It's dangerous.
You know, what's interesting is Barack Hussein Obama, president of our country, established a missile defense system in Romania to arguably go against Iranian nukes, but also poised against Russia's nukes. And he's about to put another missile defense system in Poland, which unnerves the Russians also. And now you have Donald Trump, the Republican, saying, well, maybe we'll take our troops out of Europe. Maybe we'll take our troops out of South Korea. It is crazy. It shows a real lack of understanding. By the way, the NATO countries are doing the right thing when it comes to paying their direct dues, which is based on their share of their gross national income. A couple of the countries, 5 of the countries out of 28, are a little bit short on their indirect payments. They're a little bit short. Obama's criticized them for it, so is Clinton. But you don't pull out the troops. It belies Trump's real fatal misunderstanding of the world. We're in Europe, we're in South Korea to protect America.
Well, that was the point that I wanted to stress.
Our national security interests.
It's not that we have some love affair necessarily with Estonia, but it's in our national interest not to have World War III, right? And as you said it, when you let people cause mischief without the idea of that the superpower will come to their aid when it does, that's when things escalate, right?
That's the thinking that got us into Cuba, Iraq, Afghanistan, and give Trump some credit. If he only knew how to say things in ways that people could listen to him, which he doesn't, he's trying to ask the question, is the active military interventionist policy in the nation's interest? It hasn't been debated since the end of World War II. It deserves debate. That's not to say you're wrong. It's to say that we have gotten ourselves...
So how should he have said it? Because I'm not disagreeing
just the way I just said it.
No, Richard,
you're very articulate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Richard, I agree with you completely.
If
he had articulated it the way you said, then that would have been a better approach to a reasoned debate. But he didn't say that. He couched it in the language of...
But you're giving him too much credit.
No, he couched it in the language of a business person about money.
How about this?
And while money is important, our national security is even more important.
Wait, we're part of it. We signed on. We gave our word.
We
Richard.
can get out.
And those
My God.
I didn't say we should. I said it's time for a conversation about that. You big muscle guys are the ones who got us into every catastrophe since the end of World War II.
Well, how about you go back a little bit before that? If I follow your logic in World War II, then maybe, you know what? We should have let the blitzkrieg's keep on going. We should have basically stayed home and not got involved in Europe. That sounds like a great isolationist theory. That was the correct
application of American power.
Okay.
But the rest of them weren't. And it cost us trillions and hundreds of thousands of dead Americans.
But Richard,
and it got us nowhere.
Richard, was NATO wrong? Was having troops in South Korea wrong? I don't think you think that.
I don't think it was wrong 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Do you think it's wrong today to have our troops in NATO, in Europe, and in South Korea?
You know what? I'd really like to have a discussion where that proposition was up for reasonable debate.
That's a different issue.
Trump
That's a
Trump
different
It's a
issue.
different issue. He
Trump
was
has
talking about money.
Trump has a very peculiar a flirtation going with Putin and with Russia. And some of his staff, Paul Manafort, have been around the Russian sphere. They work with the Ukrainian strongman that was a Putin guy. There's a weird
Trump's
flirtation going on
manager
there.
is a lobbyist
and
for
it's,
Putin.
Right, and it's disconcerting. And you see the Russians playing into this as well. And Trump's playing games here, and he's got to watch it because the congressman is right. If you don't suggest that you're going to protect your allies, they're weak, they're vulnerable, and the Russians will take
And
them.
I would only say, for everybody who gets lost, and we're as guilty as anybody for it, I'll put it on myself, we get in the minutia about Melania's speech here and all the rest. This is the stuff that should give anybody, forget right, left, liberal, conservative, pause. At the end of the day, the commander-in-chief is the most powerful person in the world here for a reason. There is nuance, and you can't play fire with these kind of things without people misreading it like the Putins of the world or name your strongman. And to me, this is scary. And for him to say this on the eve of his address, when he accepts the nomination of the grand old party, my gosh, what's going on in his mind here when he's not going to have all the eyes of the world
And that's
on
right, Richard, because words matter in leaders, in American leaders especially. President Obama was so deeply criticized, including from me, for drawing that red line in Syria. If he wasn't going to back it up, you don't say it. Words matter. It's one of my great concerns about Trump as a candidate is that he can't seem to control his words. And in that position, you can't have that.
And yet he still hangs on in the polls. And the reason why is because in spite of all the correct critique you've just given, and you're all just about right about what he said, he
Thank
is,
you, Richard.
well, with one exception.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that, yeah.
But
How good
he's
of you.
raising issues, trade deals. What happened to the old middle class in the Rust Belt states?
You're going Trump, aren't you?
Oh, he is.
You're going Trump.
I'm
No,
telling
I'm-
you.
I'm-
Check
thank
his
you.
I
tie.
saw you with that button
Richard.
earlier this year.
Thank you.
Bill, check his tie. Check his tie. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that the Republican Party is exhausted in economic ideas. The Democratic Party has not paid attention to its old previous middle class base. And Trump is exciting those kinds of debates. He is the world's worst messenger, but the issues were worth talking
Can
about.
I agree with Richard?
No.
And slightly disagree. I agree with what you said. Donald Trump has understood the anger and resentment of the American people perhaps better than Hillary Clinton. He certainly gives voice to it. However, it's easy to identify anger and resentment and to be critical of those making decisions. The question for somebody who wants to be president of the United States is, what are you going to do about it? And what are your credentials? And what's your knowledge base on how you would address it? And his remark about NATO really showed who this guy is. Maybe not for all of us, many of us knew this before, but if you didn't get it now, you're really not with it, because he's basically misunderstanding America needs to keep its word. He's the one who also said, by the way, we can default on our national debt. They'll take less than 100 cents on the dollar. And now he's saying we can withdraw from NATO if they don't pay up, not understanding that, again, it's in the United States national security interest to be a bulwark against Russian aggression in Europe.
I'm gathering you.
I agree.
And against North Korean aggression on the Korean Peninsula.
I tell you one thing, Dominic, though, through this whole thing, what I keep getting wrong is I keep waiting for the public to say, wait a minute, The Apprentice guy, this guy's nuts. But and I'm going to get some heat for this maybe, but I keep overestimating what the line is of the American public of what they won't think is funny anymore.
I hate to tell you, you are greatly overestimating that line. I refer to it as we're in the Kim Kardashian moment of American society
The two
and
elitists
politics.
are
Wait,
dumping on the American people?
Wait, what
They
did
were
I
smart
just say?
they were smart enough to elect Barack Obama.
He was talking about Kardashian. I want to hear about Kardashian.
What did I
After
just
he
say?
talked about Putin, there you go, yeah.
I mean, we pay attention to the most simplistic soundbite on everything. Trump can make a ridiculous statement on NATO and get away with it because nobody cares. They more care with what he's going to say. Hey, is the TV show going to be good? TV show is defined tonight as Trump's speech. What is he going to do? Is he going to throw something at somebody?
American people are not
like
stupid.
Oh,
And
you
they were
want
smart enough
okay, listen,
to
I
elect
didn't say-
Barack Obama
listen,
in
I
8 and 12.
I didn't say that the American people were stupid. No, No, I said that's to you.
Yes.
I
It was.
said Kim Kardashian, and we played to the most simplistic of everything.
I just hope he doesn't take off his shoe and bang it on the counter like.
Or throw it. Or throw it.
Or throw it like the Japan. Was it Japan?
It was
No,
Iraq.
Iraq,
Close
yeah.
enough.
Iraq,
Yeah,
right,
leopard
close
stripes.
enough,
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, coming up next. Richard loves a good protest, and the biggest anti-Trump protest yet. And our reporter Natalie Patterson, she was right in the middle of it in Cleveland. We'll have her report straight ahead.